Hello everyone, welcome to GGN. This is part 3 for this news report today. I'm probably going to do 4. It's April 2nd, 2013. I'm Darko. I'm going to continue here with War on Terror, Liberty, Sovereignty news in Syria, Israel, and Asia. Syria balks infiltration attempt by militants on Lebanese border. The Syrian military forces have thwarted an infiltration attempt by the foreign-backed militants to enter the country through its border with neighboring Lebanon. The incident occurred on Tuesday when government forces opened fire on militants trying to enter Syria across the northwest city of Talaka and Homs. Security sources said a number of terrorists were killed and injured in a fire exchange, while the rest fled into Lebanon. In a separate incident, U.S. Syrian armed forces confronted a terrorist group's attack on a military checkpoint in a suburb of Homs, killing and injuring the assailants. Near Damascus, Syrian army forces managed to eliminate a number of militants and also destroyed a hideout used by the armed groups. Then we have wounded Syrian insurgents sent to Israeli hospital. Israeli military said Saturday that a Syrian seeking medical assistance along the border has been brought to an Israeli hospital for treatment. The occupation military said it transferred the man to a hospital after assessing his medical condition and added that he will be returned to Syria after treatment. Says Syrian insurgents wounded in the Syrian fight against the Syrian army have crossed into the Zionist entity before to seek medical help. This entity says it is increasing the number of medical teams at the border in response. Also, 11 Syrians have already been treated at Israeli hospitals, including one who died from his wounds last week. The others returned to Syria after their conditions improved. So, going over Lebanon, going over to Syria, getting trained by the CIA and Jordan. Getting basically armed by the Turkish government, and then carrying out what would you call them? Little sneak attacks on the Iraqi border as the Iraqi government forces, or the Iraqi government was basically escorting wounded and treated Syrian armed forces and bringing them back to Syria. They got close to them, acted like they were part of the Iraqi government, and they opened fire and killed 50 of them. But these are the Syrian activists. These are Syrian rebels. Mortar attack kills 4 near Syrian capital. Let's not forget how many times I've covered articles where it says these people are speaking foreign accents and they're being called. Even Al Qaeda is putting out a call to bring these basically Islamists from all around the world. Mortar attacks kills 4 near Syrian capital. So if it's a militant attack, a mortar attack, we know what it's done by, right? Foreign-backed militants in Syria. It's killed these 4 people, including 2 kids. We also just covered recently that we had Israeli Zionist commandos that were basically raiding artifacts in a Syria synagogue. Then we have 2,000-year-old Damascus synagogue has been destroyed. The holiest Jewish site in Syria, the 2,000-year-old Jabar synagogue in Damascus, has been looted and burned, and its roofs blown off. The Syrian army and rebel forces have both blamed each other for the demolition of the historic landmark. Interesting, because you have the rebels claiming that the Syrian government did it. When if it's anyone, it's the rebels, like I said, because they're the ones that openly admit that they're looting mosque and ancient artifacts to fund their terrorist activities. And then we just covered that it was actually Israeli Mossad, probably. Algeria slams Arab League support for armed Syrian opposition. We have now the Algerian foreign minister has criticized the Arab League for handing Syria's seat to its foreign-backed armed opposition bloc, saying any decision taken by one Syrian group will have a very short life, saying that it's up to the Syrians to decide what happens. This is after March 26, when the Arab League handed Syria's seat to the opposition known as the National Coalition during the summit held in Qatar. The United Nations may send massive number of troops to Syria if government falls. It says envisions UN troops playing a major role in post-Assad regime change. Hundreds of UN staffers are spending their days waiting for the Assad government to fall and planning for massive deployments of UN troops to the nation to take over the country the day after. The officials say that NATO appears uninterested in any invasion of their own into post-Assad Syria and seems to be operating on the assumption that someone's going to invade and it might just well be them. Several different plans are being considered, with all figuring on some number of troops. They would have to get basically approval by the UN, which would have to be voted in by Russia and China. both which have opposed intervention. Also, the U.S.'s own planning for a post-Assad invasion envisions a bare minimum of 75,000 troops just to secure the chemical weapons sites. But it's like I saw in the comment boards on my videos and on other articles, I believe it was that, you know, they're doing this pretty much by themselves. Syria is able to, they're fending off these foreign invasions, this foreign invasion, Western-backed regime change by themselves. I mean, they're not going down without a fight. That's for damn sure. Syrian newspapers emerged to fill out war reporting. So in this post-Assad era, you're going to need good propaganda. So we'll set that up. So this guy, this Samson, became the editor-in-chief of the new weekly Syrian newspaper, hoping to leave behind what he disparaged as the Facebook phase of the uprising. That's right, the terrorists armed with smartphones and Twitter accounts. The tall tales and outright misinformation that tainted so much reporting from Syria, which is what he's going to do. So like when the rebels, when the terrorists, behead children and men and women, or just kill them execution style and float their bodies down the river, then they can go ahead and misinform people that, hey, this was the Assad government. Well, they're going to say, well, what about, wait a minute, didn't the Assad government just go down? Oh, it's the Assad government. They could just blame everything on the Assad government, even though the guy's not even in power anymore. I mean, that's how probably blatantly, stupidly obvious it'll be. That's funny because people refer to Algeria as kind of a Zionist channel, but he says that he could not believe what passed for news on popular satellite channels like the Qatari-owned Algeria and the Saudi-run Ali Arabiya. These are both, basically, these are both countries that are working to overthrow the government of Assad along with Israel, right? These are both Israel's allies. But hey, I salute him, man. Go for it. See if you can do it, There are no objective sources of information on either side, neither with the regime nor the rebels. So, U.S. ex-soldier exposed what U.S. is doing in Syria. So this is the latest twist. This Eric Haron, an ex-soldier, has been charged in the U.S. with using a weapon in Syria against the Syrian government forces. An American activist says Haron is being prosecuted not because of his terrorist acts, but because he has exposed what the United States is doing in Syria. So he allegedly fought with Syria with al-Nusra Front, which was deemed a terrorist group by the U.S., and basically an alliance of an al-Qaeda in Iraq. We're saying so it might be that his real crime isn't doing what is U.S. policy, which is conducting a terrorist war against the Syrian government, but rather that he blabbed about it and betrayed state secrets. This Don DeBar activist radio host told the U.S. desk on Saturday. Says it seems the most offensive thing that the U.S. citizens can do at this point is to expose what the United States is doing in Syria. Iron Dome system in Israel cannot protect civilians, says a Zionist commander. The Zionist anti-missile system cannot fully protect civilians from rocket attacks during a war that was installed primarily to defend strategic military sites, says the Home Front commander. They say in order to protect the civilian population, it would need 10 working Iron Dome batteries instead of just 5. And you know who's paying for this, right? U.S.-funded anti-missile system. That's right. Israeli Navy seeks $700 million to protect new gas fields. Will the U.S. be stuck paying to guard Israel's gas boom? So remember, we're talking about Qatar, Israel. There's a lot of funding. There's a lot of stuff that's going on right now where they want to build a pipeline through Syria to go through Turkey, a gas pipeline to compete with Russia. That's what, like I said, a lot of that what was going on in Cyprus had to do with. Now all of a sudden, Israel is pumping and they're going to start exporting natural gas. So where do you think that's going to go through? That's why they want Assad out of there. Israel has started production at the offshore Tamar field, natural gas field that economists say could turn the nation into a net exporter of energy. So they're seeing a potential windfall of new tax revenue. The Israeli Navy sees something else. They see an offshore site ripe for attack, and they see a need to create another $700 million worth of warships to protect it from attack and future wars, which is maybe why Russia is dispatch all those ships and military apparatuses, and why Israel is doing what? They're basically what? They're spying on them. We just covered that. They're spying on Russia and the port of Tartus. Israel's government is balking at the price tag, so it says if history is any indicator, it means it's only a matter of time before the U.S. Congress moves to subsidize the operation. says the field is operated by a large U.S. energy company, and they will likely add pressure to make such a move. Says when the U.S. starts paying for something, they don't stop. That's how the annual aid to Israel has grown to billions of dollars, and Israel moves to reap billions of dollars from the enterprise. It may wind up being another bill for American taxpayers. You know, Israel first, right? And there's a bunch of Christian Zionists that support Israel, even for all this crap. It says here, Israel launches airstrikes on Gaza first since the truce. So Israel launched airstrikes on the Gaza Strip on Tuesday, the first such attack since the 8-day war in November. Occupation planes bombarded an open area in northern Gaza. They said there was no one wounded. So where's the human rights, right? Human rights up in arms. Israel hinders effort aimed at nuke-free Middle East, says Iran. He says that basically the proposal for a Middle East free of nuclear arms, they're blaming Israel and the Israeli regime for hampering efforts to cleanse the entire region of all nuclear weapons. The regime is believed, or widely believed, to be the only possessor of nuclear weapons in the Middle East. They reportedly maintain between 200 and 400 atomic warheads, but under its policy of so-called nuclear ambiguity, it has never denied nor confirmed its possession of weapons of mass destruction. Iran develops indigenous fuel to run its nuclear reactors, says an envoy. The diplomat said the Islamic Republic has managed to produce indigenous fuel needed for its reactors and advance its nuclear energy program despite pressures and embargoes against it. Despite all the sanctions, they've been able to come up with its own fuel in response to the opposition and unavailability of uranium to run its nuclear reactors. North Korea to restart nuclear reactor, China on high alert. North Korea announced plans on Tuesday to restart a nuclear reactor it had agreed to shut down more than 5 years ago. It was quoted by the North Korea's KCNA news agency. To refurbish all its nuclear facilities, including this reactor, which was mothballed in 2007. Then you have to remember this. What was up with Libya? I just remember this. Libya actually started to break down their weapons of mass destruction and stuff like that, right? As soon as they got rid of that program, they were attacked, right? It was just not too long after that they were attacked. Of course, you know, Gaddafi introducing a gold diner and stuff, but you can see they, just let your guard down. It says here, U.S. general says North Korea's situation is volatile and dangerous. General James Thurman, a top U.S. commander in South Korea, said that his 2 years on the job, he's never seen things as tense as they are right now, saying that the peninsula is volatile and dangerous. His job is to prevent war, but that his greatest fear is miscalculation that causes kinetic provocation. So, and I wonder what side is going to be causing that, provoking, It says, I think we're managing it quite well, because on the side of the line, we're very calm and we're confident. South Korea president threatens military action against the North, will respond without any political considerations or provocations. They say her government is taking North Korea's threats very seriously and will respond militarily to any provocations without any political consideration. Now, the crux behind this is what? Is that the United States knows that North Korea is not able to strike them. The biggest thing is that they're trying to protect China. I think that's what it could be. Some people think that they're encircling China. But I think in the eyes of the globalists, it's all one big company, right? The planet's a big corporation, it's a big farm. And so China provides all these cheap goods to the West, to maintain their false standard of living. So if that goes under, then it's bad news for the slaves and the powers that be in the United States, right? They got a bunch of poor slaves that are now tuning out of, American Idol and sports and starting to get into real issues. They don't want that. They got to keep them distracted as long as China is their ally, pumping out these cheap goods. That all is well. The U.S. knows that North Korea cannot hit them, yet they keep making up all these inflammatory remarks about North Korea. At the same time, you have what? The United States just made it easier for them to back South Korea in any low-scale attacks, anything at all. So it made it easier for them to start war. So it's hard for me to buy this BS about his job is to prevent war. South Korean president says that the government is taking North Korea's threats very seriously and will respond militarily to any provocations. Richard Becker says the U.S. is igniting tensions with North Korea to target China and encircle them. Then you have China mobilizing troops and jets near Korea. Thank you.